Good day and welcome back to the Certified Jordan channel. This baby is up next. So we've been working on this for a bit. I think the last time you saw me we were trying to sort out some of the wiring here on the side because it didn't run. So obviously it won't run now because it doesn't have a battery. Maybe if I kickstart it, no, it doesn't have a kickstarter either, because that cover on the engine on your side is gone. But all the wiring was sorted out, everything works, and then I started to strip this motorcycle. But we have some work to do. So I told you this is a process and a project bike, so this is a process that's going to happen here. All of the plastics on this motorcycle is going to not come back to it. It's going to be a naked scooter. But what we have going on here is stuff like this. These brackets, this bracket at the back, this bracket here, these foot peg carrier or foot platform carrying plates, if I can put it that way, it needs to come off. This carrying plate for the coil needs to be cut off. That's going to move. This little block here needs to come off. All of this stuff needs to come off. Then if you look at this welding, we are going to do some work on all of this welding. So what I want to do here is I'm going to give it full welds all the way through. And then we are going to smoothen the welds with a grinder. We're going to fill it in with some body filler, and we're going to smooth it nicely before paint. The same with these welds here. Remember, we're going to cut these brackets off, so we need to smoothen that all up. Because the scooter is going to be naked, the frame needs to look good. If I can quickly do this, if you look at this weld, it's a bit above me. I mean, just look at it. It's one tack. It's a bit above me how the scooter survived from 2006, if I'm not mistaken, this is 2006 model, up to 2025 with this little welds in it. I'm going to give that a full and proper run of weld all the way around this frame. We're going to weld this thing in properly, clean all the other welds, and make this thing look proper, because it needs to be proper. So without explaining too much, the engine still needs to come out and all of that stuff, but the problem is with the engine out, then the bike is not maneuverable. So for now, I have already removed the fuel tank because we don't want anything to catch fire. So the tank is gone, the fuel was drained from the carburetor. So I'm going to get my grinder and I'm going to start cleaning up here and there what I can, so that we can get this process started. Maybe one more thing. This was actually the service stand. You see this section? You can see it also still looks a bit like a service stand. It was mounted here on the back with short little legs like this. So it has two short legs, one on this side, one on the other side, to lift the bike up completely from the floor, but just at the back. So there was nothing here. It didn't have a main stand. So I've removed that and made one proper, decent, single-sided side stand for the scooter from the service stand. It is not going to have a service stand anymore. So if I can just keep the bike like that, don't worry about that dripping out, it's just water. This bike has been washed about 10 times yesterday just to make sure that just to get all the flakiness and all the scrap off. So I'm going to cut this whole carrier bracket off right there, because we don't want it anymore. It looks ugly and we really don't need it. So we're just going to hack it off. It's not going to have a service stand. So let's cut it off and let's get the grinders, cutting wheels, flap discs and grinding discs, and let's start working on this thing. Let's make it proper. One more thing I would like to show you before we start making a noise here. Just look at what some aluminium cleaner can do to that engine. Guys, it looks a million times better. This thing was caked, absolutely caked on. If you have a look here, and if I can zoom in a bit there, the carburetor is nice and clean. Let me take this smog thing out of the way. Looks nice and clean, proper. And maybe just to mention, this entire purge valve, charcoal canister thing with this line it has here that goes into the tappet cover, all of that is going to be removed. I'll bring you in for the process on that, because there's a whole thing on the tappet cover there. This is physically a piece of the tappet cover, so I'm going to hack that all off, and then this pipe will be used for something you'll see later on. And then here where it goes into the head, we'll make a block off plate, and that will go into the block off plate, and then it will no longer have this whole thing. This thing just robs the bike of performance. And to be honest with you, maybe if you have 10 million of these scooters on the road, this will make a difference, but you know, in air pollution. But for us in this, at this moment, we're just going to take it off and throw it away. Alright guys, I'm sure you'll agree with me. This is quite a bit of metal that I've cut out of that frame. Let's go to the frame and see what it looks like. Here she is. Mind the rain and the noise on my roof. But here you'll see most of it has been cut off. Sorry. But if you look at like this here, that still needs to be cleaned up nicely. This needs to be cut off right here, this whole section, and also cleaned up nicely. You'll see there's a whole lot of stuff that still needs to be cleaned up. As I mentioned, we are going to fill in all of these voids with proper welding. I'll dig in there with my CO2 welder and we'll cover all of that up nicely. Here at the back, all of this still needs to be cleaned up and prepared for paint. But so far so good. Looks a bit naked because it is naked. But let's see how far we get. Alright, well, another week has passed. We've done quite a bit of tinkering around with this little scooter, although not much that I can show on camera. It's more or less cleaning off some brackets that were cut off and cleaning up some general welds and so forth. There's still some things at the back here I need to clean with a grinder. And then we've filled in all of these spaces with welding. These spikes are they're not very well welded. Who knew? Here we've also filled in this entire weld. But what I want to do, I want to take the engine out, because on the inside of this is the same weld on the inside. So I want to fully weld this inside as well. Now, I've looked around for a welder camera, but I don't think you'll believe me if I tell you what's the price of one of those. 5,000 USD. So that's not going to happen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my Osmo Action and put it inside of a welding helmet to see if I can then maybe get some footage of me welding this on the inside, just to show you. But before I get to that, the engine needs to come out. So I think we need to get to stripping bits and bobs off of this bike. The wiring is already about 90% loose. All of this is loose. So for the rear side, it's basically 2 bolts on the engine carrying bracket, and then the 2 bolts that holds the 2 shocks at the back. Then the engine is out. Then we need to take the front wheel out, the forks, and then all of this here on top. And then we have the frame separately. Then I can just quickly clean up all of these welds at the bottom here and all of these pieces that we've cut off. And we can do those 2 full welds there. And then we can start prepping this frame for paint work. So let's get right into it. Viewers, I'm just going to let the time lapse roll. Maybe get yourself a nice beverage and just sit back and relax and watch me work my butt off on this section of stripping and getting everything ready for metal work, body work and paint work. I'll catch up with you a bit later in the video. Alright guys, all the cutting, all the welding and prepping the metal portion of this frame is now complete. We have added a lot of welding stiffening into this frame since we cut a lot of steel out. We still need to weld the foot peg section on here, which is going to change, so that will have to be done. I'm waiting for the foot pegs, the rubbers themselves, so that we can see what size of metal we should weld in there. Until we've gotten that, there's nothing else we can do to this frame. The frame is ready as it is, but I want to finish all the welding. So we need to put that footrest section in here. Then this frame can be sanded down and prepped for paint. For now, the frame is ready. That's that one section that we still need to do. I'm going to take the frame in again. As you can see, there's some flash rust forming on the side stand there, on the side stand there. So I'm going to take the frame indoors so that there's no moisture in the air for it to rust any further. And then once that foot section is welded in, we can then start prepping this frame for paint. Oh, there's one small section that I forgot to mention. The fuel tank is going to sit right here, right? So here at the back is a piece of metal that needs to be made and welded in here. That's going to be for the tail light, so, and the number plate. So I still need to manufacture that, weld that in, and then we can paint the frame. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the tank, put it in place here, so that I can measure and make the correct piece of metal to go in there to cater for the taillight and the number plate. So yeah, I just want to make that section where the taillight needs to come on. So I've installed the tank, the fuel tank, to give me more or less a line on where the light should fit and match up to. There you can see me measuring the piece of flat bar. That's a 2mm thick flat bar that I've cleaned and sanded, cut and weld to that specific size for the taillight, which you will ultimately see when the project is complete and the light has been fitted to it. Now remember, you'll see me sanding quite a lot here. Yes, it was to clean the frame and the paint off, but I want to do some body filler and things on the welds that I've added. But before I want to do that, I want to sand everything down and then prime the whole frame, then do the body filler, then sand it down again and prime it again before paint. And here's the final product before the first prime. Okay, so in this clip, you'll see that I've set my camera behind my welding helmet, and it wasn't really successful. However, I thought, let me try it out and I'll show you what it looked like. It didn't really come out the way I thought it would, but you can see me going in a back and forth motion. So you go forward and then half the lap back and then overlap the previous lap. That's the way which I use to weld, especially on thinner materials such as this motorcycle frame. So whilst I was busy priming some other stuff for a friend, I decided let me make use of this opportunity to prime this frame for the scooter. I think we're going to call it Project Nomad. So the Nomad project is the frame is primed, all the additional welds and things that we've done. But guys, I feel compelled to say that I was extremely disappointed with the weld quality on this specific frame, and it makes me think, if you buy a Chinese scooter such as this, maybe it's not a bad idea to take it home, rip it apart and weld everything over again. Because to be honest with you, the welding quality and the amounts of weld on the scooter is it's alarmingly worrying that you take a frame like this and you ride this thing at 80 kilometers or 50 kilometers plus 50 miles an hour or 80 kilometers per hour plus on public roads with welding such as this. It's alarming. So at the back here, for example, that is a standard weld, and there was a standard weld. This entire section here is not welded. The same on the inside here, exactly the same thing. These things had a little small tack there and a small tack there. I've fully welded this, and I've welded all of this all the way around, all the way there, all the way there. I've welded all these things 360 degrees, which was not the case. I've welded in here, welded in there, welded at the bottom, at the back of the side stand, here at the bottom of the frame. This section here was not welded at all. Same on the other side, same here. It had a small tack there, a small tack there. There was absolutely no weld here. Same on this side, where it was only tacked right at the bottom there. And I gave it a full weld all the way up to the frame, up to here. The same on this, just a tack in the front, tack in the back. Gave it a full weld there, as well as a full weld at the bottom. But anyway, oh, this as well. I welded that fully up. This was fully welded, but no weld on the top. Added the weld on the top, and I fully welded this all the way around. So you can see that whole weld is new. That was welded by me. That was not there. So this frame is there now, primed. I think you're going to like the color. We'll do that up next. This foot peg, the foot pegs still need to be welded in here. It's a foot peg carrying pipe, but so that still needs to be welded in. See, there's a small piece here that I didn't clean up, so I'll clean that up when I weld that and just quickly prime that again. But the rest is already primed. Now it can't rust anymore, because I was worried about that. There's quite a bit of moisture in the air. We get a lot of rain these days, although our raining season here in South Africa is almost come to an end in the Johannesburg area, as summer is drawing to a close at the moment. But nevertheless, we'll get that foot peg thing welded in, get it primed, get that all cleaned up and primed, and then this frame is ready for paint. We still need to do stuff like paint the forks, paint the wheels, paint the engine and so forth. So there's still quite a lot of work to be completed, but so far so good. We'll see what she looks like when we're done. Okay guys, so after a lot, and I mean a lot of body work, all the welds has been filled in with body filler. I've added the foot pegs. You've added this little bong here. You'll see why later. Added all of this body filler. I've just sprayed the frame down with lacquer thinners just to make sure it's nice and clean. Here's a tank, it's still drying. Just sprayed it with lacquer thinners. So it's time to prime this frame once again. It has been primed already in black, but after all the filler and everything, you can quite clearly see that most of that prime has been sanded off. So it's going to be primed now in grey, because that's what the 3-stage paint calls for, as a greyish light grey prime. So we're going to get that done now, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So I've mentioned this is a 3-stage, but it's actually a 4-stage paint. The grey there you can see is the first stage, which is the primer. Then I'm putting the second stage, which is this very pretty copperish color you'll see me putting on there, which has got quite a lot of metallic in it. Then it is a red, and then it is a clear coat. So the red you'll see me adding on later on as a translucent paint. Though it's red, but it brings through that metallic shine you see at on the first layer. So it's 2 layers of this copperish color, 3 layers red, and then 2 layers or 2 coats of a clear lacquer. You'll see in this clip the red I'm adding there goes on nicely, and then it's like it fades away as it becomes dry. Hence the reason why it's a 3-coat red on the 3rd stage of this paint. 3rd stage in this case means the red paint that I'm adding there. Now when it comes to cleaning the engine, I wanted to show you this. I took some pictures here. This is actually oven cleaner, because this engine was severely caked on. Here you'll see a bit of bluish soap, which is actually toilet duck. The blue inside of that chemical just reacts with the aluminium and makes it nice and clean. Here I'm actually cutting off the air circulation purge valve, and then you'll see me there's a block of plate that I'm going to weld, grind flat, and then put it back. So there you could see the grinded off project, and that's the end of that. So here's the scooter's rims. It's been primed and prep wiped. Little side stand, front forks, rear shocks, and the front rim. So all of this has been primed, platted, prep wiped. It's now ready for color. Now previously when I painted gold, I used the grey edge primer. But in this case I decided to try and go for the black edge primer before I add the gold. And I think the black undertone under the gold actually paid off. This is a lighter gold color, and the black undertone just makes it a nice rich gold color, as you'll see in the pictures to follow a bit later on. I'm gonna add 3 coats of gold with flash of times in between, which obviously I have removed from the video clips. I don't want to bore you to death. And then I've added 2 wet coats of clear lacquer. Now friends, I'm sure you'll agree with me that that gold on red came out beautifully. I wish I could have shown you in person how that color came out, but it is beautiful. Stick around for the next episode where we will be doing more assembly. And thanks for watching this video. If this is the type of content that you enjoy to watch, please consider subscribing if you already have subscribed. Thanks so much for your support. Keep safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.